Might as well get started. Let me just introduce myself. I'm Nick Young. I'm an executive recruiter with a firm called Spencer Stewart, and we'll talk a little bit about it in a minute. I'm delighted to be here today to support Rowan Williamson and his efforts on behalf of the school, and as well as your Distinguished Speakers series. And I'm here to introduce Larry Blandford, but I thought it might be interesting for you to hear the backstory on Larry before we get to the official story. So this would be the unofficial story of how Larry arrived at Green Mountain Coffee, and we'll talk a little bit about Green Mountain Coffee and Larry. So, Lloyd and I, Lloyd Campbell, who is a Georgetown grad. Lloyd, where are you? There you are. Lloyd and I are with Spencer Stewart, and we were asked by a fund, an investor, a large investor in Boston, to go up and meet the founder of Green Mountain Coffee. And so we did, and it was an amazing experience. We thought it was going to be a one-hour meeting, right, Lloyd? We're going to meet the founder and have a quick discussion. And the founder said, "Oh, we're glad you're here. I'd like you to meet the entire management team. We'd like you to have a tour of the plant, and then meet more of the management team. Around 5:30 or 6 o'clock, I'd like to talk to you." So that was very nice, and we met some very, very interesting people and developed a real appreciation for the very special way Green Mountain Coffee has developed a unique coffee brand. And in the course of interviewing the people about the company, it was very clear that they were absolutely amazed at the founder, a visionary, somebody with courage who took a great risk to buy Keurig at one point, who developed the K-Cup and took that concept to market, and in fact developed a sort of razor blade model, a brewer and coffee that was like a breeder reactor, and Larry will tell you more about the success story there. So everyone in the company was extremely fond of and admired the founder. But the company had reached a point where it really needed a professional, experienced CEO. It was transitioning through the $200 million level, and at about 250 million, Lloyd, when we were there. So in the course of the day and talking to the people and listening to the need for a CEO, clearly, it was a repeat story. By the end of the day, we sat down with the founder, and he said, "Well, what'd they tell you?" It was a bit of an awkward moment, and we said, "Well, you are a visionary founder, and there is true admiration for what you've accomplished. But the firm, the people in the company feel the firm is ready for a CEO." That was a particularly sensitive moment because there had been an attempt in the past to take over the company, a management team, which was not successful, and so the founder was particularly concerned, and he said, "No, that's what we would like to do, though, instead of a CEO." I mean, the subject of CEO was a bit like touching the third rail. It was sparks, but we do need a couple of directors. And so, as we left the company that day, Lloyd and I said, "How do we do the right thing by the company, and also the right thing by the founder?" And the conclusion was, well, what we'll have to do is send in board candidates. But let's embed in the board candidates a candidate that could be the CEO. And the founder, being very wise, hopefully will recognize those qualities, those CEO qualities in that particular board candidate. And so indeed, that was the case. Lloyd Campbell's very brilliant decision to send somebody in who was the obvious CEO candidate. So, let's just get past that point. So as we went back to our office and started thinking about the board slate, we started to gravitate to, well, who could we send in as the CEO candidate? And the obvious one that just stuck out was Larry Blandford. And so you say, well, why Larry Blandford? Well, Larry had started life at an academy, what we call academy company, where they provide a lot of training, Procter & Gamble. And he ran the Folgers coffee brand. Well, that's pretty nice to get your early start, learning all about branded coffee and in one of the academy companies. But then, more amazingly, Later in his life, he ran Philips North America, electronics business, consumer electronics, and he also was president of Maytag Appliances. So here's a guy that had the appliance side, and he had the coffee side. You say, wow, that doesn't happen very often. So Larry, one would say, on paper, was the obvious candidate. What made it even better is we had the opportunity to work with Larry before, and we got to understand some of the qualities he had. We had placed Larry previously at a company called Royal Group Technologies in Canada. And that was an interesting experience for Larry, and is it all right to talk about that, Larry?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit, okay. I won't talk about it too much. But let's just touch on the fact that it was a founder-led company that had gotten into trouble, and they needed somebody to get them out of trouble. So Larry went in as the CEO. It was a $2 billion plastics company. First day, I think the Royal Canadian Mounted Police came in and seized all the files.
They met me as I arrived on day one, yes.
Day one. So clearly the company had some previous problems, and Larry was beginning to understand the magnitude of what it was he was to clean up there. The second day, the private equity firm Cerberus arrived at his doorstep with a proposal for a hostile takeover. So he had, I can't imagine. But the third day, I got a phone call saying, Nick, what the hell did you do here? But true to form, Larry led the company under great pressure and did a lot of wonderful things. He was able to refinance the company, which they badly needed. He was able to pull a management team together, and the company was a series of acquisitions that hadn't been consolidated, sometimes one division competing with the other. Anyway, there was a huge, huge mess to clean up. Larry not only cleaned it up, but very deftly and successfully sold the company at just the right point in the economy for a huge amount of money to Georgia Gulf. So that was a giant win, and so Larry was free and ready for his next challenge, and in fact it sort of outlined to us that he was ready to take on a $3 to $5 billion company. This was his aspiration. So when we called to say, would you consider Green Mountain Coffee, it took a great leap on Larry's part, and it speaks to his open-mindedness.
I first actually said no, but
right.
But Nick didn't give up.
So basically, what stuck out about Larry was he was cool under pressure. He had a lot of courage. He had humility. His ego was in check. He has wonderful listening skills. And someone who had successfully dealt with a founder situation before, which is not an easy transition and easy management challenge. We just wrote a book. Our firm, together with Harvard, put together a book called Better Under Pressure. And we interviewed a whole bunch of CEOs, 50 or 60 CEOs, including Larry. And now that the book's written, Larry, I think there are some things that stick out here. There are 3 qualities identified as critical to a CEO. One is subservience to purpose, where you demonstrate to your team that you are absolutely dedicated to your task. Able to make order out of chaos, and certainly that was a case that you proved prior to joining Green Mountain Coffee. And then realistic optimism. So realistic and yet optimism, the ability to lead a company and have people follow. And what Larry so successfully did was to take Bob Stiller's winning formula and get people to buy in and take it to the next level. So let's just talk a little bit about that, and then we'll get out of the way and let Larry get on with it. So much for the backstory. So when Larry joined the company in April of 2007, more or less, 2007?
Yes, it's early May, yes.
Yeah. So revenues were $250 million, market cap $650 million?
Yeah, about that, 625.
So, and today, you're looking at a run rate of $2.5 billion?
About 2.5 nominally. Mm-hmm.
And a market cap 15 to 17 billion, depending on what the
depending
market's
on the
doing.
day, yes.
Yeah.
We're a little volatile. We went down a little today, but that's
okay. So, Fortune magazine has ranked Green Mountain Coffee the #1 best investment Is that for 2011? The number 2 fastest growing company in the country. So really remarkable results. I think I'll get out of the way and let Larry do the talking here.
Well, thanks a lot, Nick. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Professor Rohan Williamson. I'm a financier in the business school. Before we sit down and talk to Larry, we wanted to share with you a short video about Green Mountain Coffee Roasters. The video should provide you with a taste of what corporate social responsibility means to the firm and how the firm's belief that its business and its financial success and its responsibility to its employees, its local and global communities is inseparable and drives their efforts and in their words, to brew a better world. This focus was and remains an important to the founder, Bob Stiller, and is something that Larry has moved forward, is very proud of, and will talk more about today.
More than 100 million people around the world depend on coffee and the fragile environments where coffee is grown for their livelihoods. As a part of that way of life, we strive to do business in a way that improves every life we touch, from tree to cup. It is how we make exceptional coffee and make a difference in the world. We believe business has the power and the responsibility to make the world a better place. As we grow, our success will continue to be measured both in profit and by our power to create positive change. When you take a sip of our coffee, you are part of that power. We invite you to get to know the people and places of Green Mountain Coffee Roasters and join us in brewing a better world.
So what we're going to do today, we're just going to have a sit down and have a discussion here with Larry, and I'm just here to facilitate. We want to hear from Larry, and as Nick pointed out, a tremendous success story on a personal level and also at the firm level. We're going to ask Larry a few questions here and then allow him to kind of take things over, and at the end, you guys will be allowed to ask some questions. Now,
Professor, before we do that, if we might, just let me thank you for the opportunity to be here. Very much appreciate it. Nick, thank you for your introduction. And Nick has been certainly instrumental in my career and along the way, and even before the Royal Group assignment, and then certainly helped facilitate my onboarding at Green Mountain Coffee Roasters. I'm very appreciative to be here today to have an opportunity to share with you a little bit about Green Mountain, and we'll get into the questions in just a couple of minutes. I would like to say that, you know, I don't want to come across as prescriptive. We're very proud of the story at Green Mountain Coffee Roasters. It is a story of strategy and execution and purpose and culture. and innovation. But I strongly believe that leadership is situational, and it's truly, although there is increasing levels of sophistication in science, there's a lot of art, and it is a practice. And so as you go out in the world, and you're going to find yourself in a whole host of situations, and you got to figure out what the right formula for those particular opportunities are. So I'm certainly happy to share with you some of the insights about our company, and to the extent that they can be helpful to you as you go out and face the world, and you can draw on those, that's great. I would also just add a few comments on just to help put things in context on the personal side. I did grow up going to parochial schools through high school, went to the University of Cincinnati, got my degree in chemical engineering, and did co-op for Procter & Gamble. I was very fortunate, and actually went into Procter & Gamble on the manufacturing side, and was in manufacturing and operations, product development most of my career, up until I did end up having an opportunity to lead the instant coffee business team for Folgers, as Nick pointed out. I am coming up on 29 years of marriage. I have 2 children, one of whom she's my eldest is actually in human resources at Green Mountain Coffee Roasters and loves it. And in full transparency, I have a son who is a junior at Boston College. So just so we get that squared away. And then the other thing before we jump into the Q&A, so Nick talked about the book that's out, and some of the qualities of a CEO in terms of purpose and bringing order to chaos and being optimistic. A CEO is also supposed to be a very good salesperson. So in your catalog on page 30, you can write down your order today when we're done. Just want to make sure we get that little commercial in. All right.
Fantastic. Thank you a lot. Thank you, Larry. Now, when we think about Vermont firms, corporate social responsibility seems to be embedded in the DNA. I mean, you have Ben and Jerry, the 7th generation, and also Green Mountain. Assuming that's not really true, and it's much more about nurture as much as nature, can you tell us how you place an emphasis on corporate social responsibility at Green Mountain?
Yeah. So there's a little bit of it in the water in Vermont, I think, and that's fine. But I would say that the whole aspect of corporate social responsibility, sustainability, is really integral to our purpose and our culture in the company. And while we do manage initiatives under the banner of Brewing a Better World, which I think flashed on the screen here, that are specific to sustainability, it really is embedded in the DNA of the company. And I would go right back to our purpose statement, and that purpose statement is bringing the ultimate coffee experience to each and every life we touch from tree to cup, changing the way the world views business. That purpose statement is very, very important, very meaningful to the company, and supporting that is an enlightened culture, which really focuses on the synergy of achieving financial results, care, concern, and development of our people, and sustainability. And when we talk about sustainability, we're talking about sustainability of those financial results, of our people, and of the communities in which we operate, of the environment, of our supply chain. It's all integrated. And we refer to that culture being very synergistic, and actually we talk about the synergy of the and. It's A and B and C. And we recognize that one supports the other. The better we are in achieving financial results, the more we're going to be able to grow and develop our people, and the more we're going to be able to do in the world. And I would just counsel you all and be careful of the tyranny of the or in your life. Many times people will try to give you a false choice. You can do A or you can do B. And frequently, if not most, all of the time, you don't have to settle for the tyranny of the or. You can instead try to identify the synergy of the and. I think if you look at it that way, you'll find more often than not you can achieve multiple objectives in a synergistic way. Just, if I might comment a little bit more on the purpose statement, the ultimate coffee experience to each and every life we touch really is about value creation at every point of contact. So if we're bringing products to the consumer, we want to make sure that we're delivering a great product to the consumer. If we're talking about customers, we approach all of our customer relationships in a win-win value creation way, and the same thing in the supply chain. That approach to developing joint value and being concerned as much about the value creation for our partner as we are for ourselves has played out in many ways, one of which, and I'll talk a little bit later about the number of partnerships that we have as we are going to market today. The second part of that purpose statement, changing the way the world understands business, is critically important to everyone in the company. We really do want to try to make Green Mountain Coffee an example of what the best of business can be, and that it can be a positive force for change. So when you then, again, coming back to kind of the culture, the synergy of financial results and care, concern, development of people, and sustainability, supporting that purpose statement, it's very, very powerful. It's powerful in our ability to recruit people, to retain people, because it's ethically right, it's morally right, and it's economically right. The primary way in which you raise the standard of living of any group of people, whether it is a group of employees or at Green Mountain or our extended supply chain or people in Waterbury, Vermont, or a state, a country, is to enhance productivity over time. That's an economic definition, but productivity can be efficiency. I'm going to make this bottle tomorrow more efficiently than I did today, or through innovation, where I create a whole new product that meets your needs tomorrow better than this product does today. And doing that consistently over time. And so the culture of the company is all about creating value today and tomorrow, and raising the standard of living and of all of the participants of the company, our employees, and all of our constituencies. So it really is a great place to work, and we pretty much everyone that comes to work for us loves it and stays with the company.
Okay. Now, you guys are a pretty young firm. You've been around for about 30 years or so, and so you have a lot of pretty long runway in front of you. Is there a firm out there that you would like to be more like when you grow up?
When we grow up, we are unique. I think we certainly look to learn from other firms and other leadership styles. One of the key drivers of our culture is this passion about learning, and as I mentioned, part of the culture is really trying to encourage our employees to be all that they can be, and we provide tremendous amounts of training of all sorts to help folks grow and develop. And we, as a company in our culture, are always seeking out other companies and best practices and trying to decide, as we look at those, what might work within our company. I think, though, that we are unique in that we are this very interesting blend of both an appliance company on one hand, really a technology company, and a consumer packaged goods company on the other. And there's very few entities out there like us. As I talk to investors on our business, I talk about the fact that we are increasingly, although coffee is in our DNA and always will be, we're increasingly a single-serve beverage company. As you can see from the catalog, hot apple cider on the cover page, and we're now into dairy and cocoa-based products and fruit-based products, as well as coffee and tea, all of which can be made with the Keurig brewer. So single-serve beverage company sitting on top of this disruptive and magnificent technology platform called the Keurig single-serve brewing system. And that is really unique. In fact, that was one of the reasons that I joined the company. Even though it wasn't quite as big as I was looking for, and I did say no the first time Nick asked me to go to, I said, Green Mountain who? I had not heard of Green Mountain, but ultimately he was very persuasive. But you know, the culture of the company as I got to know it won my heart, and we've already talked a little bit about that. But then what won my head was this very unique situation where we were able to bring these two very different businesses together. Earlier in my career, when I started at Procter & Gamble, I was actually started in the detergent business. And I observed early in my career how difficult it was for Procter to herd, if you will, the major appliance manufacturers, washing machine and dishwasher manufacturers, in any one direction. It was very difficult. Later, when I was president of Maytag North American Appliance Group, I had the opportunity there to be involved in launching what was one of the most innovative appliance products to that point in time, which was the Maytag Neptune, first large horizontal tilt-axis washing machines focused on stain removal. And we could not introduce that innovative product without having a low-sudsing detergent. And there was not any on the market. So I made a number of trips back to my former company, Procter & Gamble, to encourage them, beg them, to develop a low-sudsing detergent, which today is known as Tide AG, or we could not have launched. The reality is, and I am an engineer by training, but a washing machine or a dishwasher is a chemical reactor. And because it controls concentration, order of addition, temperature, and length of contact time between and how that contact time is managed with the agitation in the washing machine, the mixing. It's a complex chemical reactor, and theoretically, you would want to design the chemistry, the detergent, the fabric softener, et cetera, the bleach, and the reactor, if you will, in a synergistic way. But that doesn't happen. You've got these businesses, and they're in very different companies. So the culture, as I learned about Green Mountain Coffee, won my heart. But what won my head was the opportunity to bring these very different businesses together under the same umbrella. And that absolutely was derived from my previous experience at Procter and then later at Maytag. If you look at those two businesses today, they're very, very different. And as I joined the company in early May of 2007, Green Mountain Coffee Roasters had acquired all of Keurig in June of 2006. And the company was in the process of actually hiring a consulting firm to put the two business units together, to integrate the acquisition of Keurig into Green Mountain. And I suggested during the interview process that that might not be the way we want to go, that we really needed to first get our strategy right, because the board clearly was not sure how to best leverage the acquisition of Keurig, and that the organization should flow from the strategy. So we stopped that integration. We did work on strategy. We'll come back and talk about that later. But at the end of the summer, after we'd refined our strategy, it was clear that we did not want to put those two organizations together. So quickly, the competencies of the two organizations are very different, which is why, back to my earlier example, detergent business is in a Procter & Gamble, and a washing machine business, Maytag, now part of Whirlpool, GE, et cetera. The Keurig side of the business is all about technology. It's mechanical, electrical, software engineering, systems integration. They are pushing on the boundaries of science, material science in the portion pack, which is actually a very sophisticated product in and of itself, pushing on advanced electronics and LCD screens and chipsets, et cetera. The brewer has actually got about 500 components in it. It's a very sophisticated device. In fact, the engineers in Keurig like to kind of remind me that it's, as at least in their view, as sophisticated as some products made by Apple. And they remind me that Apple's products, don't have to handle water like ours do. Electronics and water don't like each other. So they try to convince me, and they may be right. They're out traveling the world, mainly in the developed nations of the world, trying to, again, push on the boundaries of science and material science and electronics. And then identifying, I lost my mic there, identifying those components and materials and getting them shipped over to China, where the brewers are assembled. If you look at the other side of our business, what was originally the Green Mountain Coffee side of the business, that is a very different business. It is all about food science, nutrition, formulation science as we're developing new beverages. It is about domestic manufacturing because we want to produce those products close to the market to keep them fresh. That side of the business, which we refer to today as the specialty coffee business unit, has people also traveling the world, but it's developing nations of the world on coffee plantations and cocoa plantations, and more recently in apple orchards and strawberry fields, and figuring out how to select the right and the best types of agricultural raw materials and process them and get those into our products and get them to market. So very, very different set of competencies on that. And yet, so two different businesses, but I will suggest to you that the value creation of the company is at the intersection of those two business units. So it was right to keep them separate so that we could maintain those very different core competencies. And yet the trick then is, while keeping them separate, how do you leverage the synergy between them, which is where the value creation is. I'm very confident as I sit here today that if Keurig and what was the original Green Mountain Coffee Roasters company had gone their separate ways, they would both be successful today. But I'm very confident that the combined market cap of those two entities would not approach the 15 to 17 billion that we have driven here in the last 4.5 years or so. So how we do that is our blessing and our challenge. But we have a number of ways that we try to find that synergy. So we have joint leadership teams. We have a technology council, a sales and marketing council, a supply chain council, where we bring together business leaders from both of those core business units to work on common problems and attack common opportunities. We also have some, as I sit here today, some 900 projects in the organization. We have what we refer to as a program management office that officially tracks our progress on those. But each of those are there's a business team, multifunctional, generally cross-business unit team that are driving those projects forward. And there would always be a business lead and technical lead working together, supported by, depending on the size of the initiative, a professional project or program manager. It's another opportunity to leverage the different talents of the two business units, bringing those folks together to work together against a common project. So many ways that we try to facilitate the synergy while keeping the two business units separate so that we can continue to grow those very important core competencies.
So Larry, let's switch gears a little bit. So you came to the firm. The legendary founder started it almost as a cafe. So, I mean, how tough was it to kind of carve your own path in the presence of someone with that sort of history?
Well, it's a great question. And, you know, there is an old adage in the search firm world, as I think Nick would support, that you never follow the founder. If you're an aspiring leader, it's a tough, generally a very tough challenge. I think in our case, you know, it went very well, and today is truly an outstanding relationship between Bob and myself. I think what you do, and I would say this is true in any situation that you go into, where you follow someone, be it the founder or not. It's just, you know, maybe enhanced if you're following the founder, because, you know, the founder of any firm, generally speaking, that firm becomes very much a part of the identity of the founder, right? It's very much a part of who they are, and they feel tremendous ownership in it. And they certainly want to make certain that that firm that they founded is going to continue to flourish, and obviously they have concerns as to whether it can do that without them, or without them being, you know, highly involved on a day in, day out basis. So whether it's a founder or anyone else that you might follow in your career as you move into a job, you know, I would just suggest that the first thing you want to do is listen, be very respectful, try to understand what about the company or the position as you might approach it, what has been successful prior to your joining. Understand, as I did from Bob, what he felt was important, what he felt had worked, what he felt had not worked, and then you have to, you know, begin to, through that process, begin to build trust with the founder. And that takes a little time, but you do that by helping to, you know, identify opportunities and moving the company forward, and gaining the founder's confidence in your ability to do that. There was a point in time, I think about 18 months into my role, where I felt that I had fully achieved that milestone, and Bob at that point, Bob Stiller, I feel fundamentally really turned the company over to me with great confidence at that point. And I know exactly where that point was. But it does take time. It takes patience. It takes humility. You want to, you know, and it's also, there's just as much challenge on the opposite side. So, you know, Bob, to his credit, really wanted it to work. He did feel strongly that, and he knew that the company, although he had taken it as, you know, to the point where he had, that it needed additional, you know, leadership going forward. So he very much wanted it to work. I think he was patient with me as well, and we, I think, ended up in a great place. But what you can't do is go in and to a situation like that and not listen and think that you know better than the founder and start driving in your own direction and shut the founder out. That would not be a wise move. We didn't do that, and we ended up in a great place, and the company has ended up in a great place.
Okay. Nick pointed out you were in a much bigger firm, okay, and then you left and went to a smaller firm, and somebody look at it and say, well, that was a step backwards. Now, and you pointed out earlier that you actually told him no at first. So what changed your mind? What did you feel?
Well, I think it was, as I mentioned, as I got to know the company, I was very much attracted to the culture that I give Bob, all the credit for building. That culture was at the company as I joined, and that's all Bob's. But it happened to also be very much in line with my own leadership style and my views of how a company should be run. And that really did win my heart. And then, of course, the opportunity to leverage these two synergistic technologies won my head, as well as what I would add, it wasn't just the fact that we had these two technologies in one umbrella, but I had some sense of the opportunity that single serve represented in the marketplace. It had been around, the notion that consumers might like to enjoy coffee one cup at a time had been around a long time, and there had been many attempts to try to leverage that insight, and none of them had been overly successful. I did feel that the Keurig brewing system, as I experienced it when I was thinking about joining the company, was the very best value proposition against that insight that I had run into. And so that also helped win me over. So I thought there was some value creation opportunity available.
As you look at the industry and the marketplace out there, who's your competition?
We compete very broadly in the coffee maker and brewer, as well as the coffee business, and now increasingly, much more broadly in other beverage categories. So we, as we think about the business today, there are many ways of preparing coffee, but as we think about it, we look at there's a number of metrics, but one is how we're doing in terms of the sale of brewers versus all coffee makers and brewers being sold, and we're doing quite well. If you were to look at our unit share of all coffee makers and brewers sold in the United States over the last 4 quarters, it would be about 16 or 17% unit share of all coffee makers and brewers being sold of all types. And that is about twice what we believe our installed base is in the United States. And so if our share just flattened out, we believe we still have some opportunities to grow our business substantially. But the good news is that's not flattening. We continue to grow our unit share quarter over the same quarter prior year. So it's a very competitive industry. We have, though, had this magnificent opportunity to redefine it with a disruptive and innovative technology called Keurig brewing. And I think is an excellent example, and there's many other examples out there where you can take a business that might be viewed by many as a commodity business and redefine it, bring innovation, and create tremendous value and change the game. And again, we're very fortunate that we're being able to do that.
Okay, Nick pointed out the
Nick has a question. Go ahead, Nick.
Just listening to you talk, Larry, I've never had the chance to ask you about Starbucks and how you did that. Because I saw you grow, and Starbucks is a big gorilla out there. I thought, uh-oh, this is not going to be pretty here at some point. And yet you were able to turn that into a win-win proposition with your shares going up, your stock going up, and their stock going up when the deal was
Yeah, I can, to some degree. I'll stand up here if you don't mind.
Sure.
And if I turn my back to you, don't mean to
That's
offend,
okay.
but I'll try to walk around a little bit. So I mentioned before, part of our, it's part of our culture to bring value to every relationship that we enjoy. And part of the success that we have enjoyed is in developing many partnerships. So today on the brewer side of the business, we have close working relationships with Jardin, which is Mr. Coffee, and we work with Breville and Conair, which owns the Cuisinart brand. On the beverage side, we had a number of historic relationships with Celestial, with Newman's Own, Organic, Caribou, and then in February of 10, we brought Smucker's, which now owns Folgers, as they acquired it from Procter & Gamble, into the fold. And then we entered into kind of a dance with Starbucks for some period of time. We like to negotiate things privately. Things got a little bit into the public domain and created a lot of excitement. But at the end of the day, we were able to bring Starbucks into the system. That was about a month after we brought Dunkin' Donuts into the system. And so the partnership is still early, in the early innings, so to speak, but I would say is so far working very well. We had indicated that we anticipated bringing that Starbucks in K-Cup portion packs would enter the market in the fall. Dunkin' Donuts did, in fact, start to become available through Dunkin' Donuts locations in August. So two additional, in addition to Folgers, very strong partnerships that we've been able to bring into the system. It's a win for Starbucks in that they are able to leverage the installed base of brewers that we already have built and be able to provide their consumers Starbucks coffee in a K-Cup portion pack so as consumers could enjoy it at home or in the office. And obviously it's a win for us because it increases consumer choice, enhances the value of the brewing system and to our consumers, and we believe will create more awareness and further drive brewer sales both in the office and also at home. So it's really a win-win for both organizations. Yes?
Just one quick follow-up. How many brewers do you have installed out there? 'Cause that's interesting.
Yeah, so we today in the at-home market, we believe we're somewhere around 9 or 10% of the 90 million households in the U.S. that have a coffee maker or a brewer. We would say roughly 9 or 10% of those would be a Keurig brewer. We're now also in Canada, as we did acquire two coffee companies, first Timothy's and then Van Oot in the Canadian market. So we're in that, say 9%, 8 or 9% of households. That's what I was saying before. But our share of brewers that we're selling these last 4 quarters are about twice that. So if we were just to level off, mathematically, you would think our business could double, and yet our share growth continues to increase so far, quarter over same quarter prior year. But there's no question that as we look at our business today, we have several real value creation drivers. The first absolutely is driving brewer adoption, both at home and in the office. That's absolutely number one. But second is indeed bringing to the market more beverage opportunities for the consumer. So once that brewing system, whether it's on your counter at home or in the office, is there, it's occupying very precious space. In fact, wars have been fought in households over what is on the kitchen counter. And if you're not experienced that yet, you may not be married, but once you are, you will experience that. And so we recognize that when that brewer is on the countertop, it is occupying very precious space. The good news for us is that consumers that buy our product, we have a very high satisfaction rate. They're passionate about the brewer, and they're very open to trying new beverages. And we recognized that in that summer of '07 when we really refined our strategy. And we had no capability in the summer of '07 to bring anything but coffee and hot tea to market. And today, of course, as I've already mentioned, we're into dairy, cocoa, fruit-based beverages. In our last conference call, I also did suggest that we're working on beverages that would be under the category of health and wellness. I didn't provide any details, more to come later, but the opportunity is very significant, and our brewer households or in the office consumers who are using it are very open to trying the additional beverage products that we bring forward. We obviously have to make certain that when we do that we are delivering great products that meet or exceed their needs, but they're very open to try. So that leads to a third value driver, and that's brand building. Okay? So think about the categories that we're starting to move into beyond just hot coffee and tea, because now we also have products for brewing over ice, which allows you take a 16-ounce plastic tumbler, fill it with ice cubes, and you can brew coffee or tea over the ice to get an iced beverage. It works really well. It's fresh, and you eliminate all of the inconvenience of lugging home a 16-ounce bottle of ready-to-drink tea or coffee. And with the fruit, now the hot apple cider, we're actually brewing real fruit. So if you were to look at the ingredient deck, the first ingredient is real apples, brown sugar and cinnamon. It's under the, in fact, brand Green Mountain All Natural. Once you can brew fruit, which we are doing, so we're actually brewing the fruit, delivering the fresh nutrients from that fruit into the brew stream and into the cup, but that could also be over ice, so that it could end up being a fruit-based cold beverage as well. Now, as we start to continue to expand the beverage categories that we're in, think about it. If we were going to go up against some of the established players in the beverage business with ready-to-drink 16-ounce bottles, we would be having to spend tens of millions of dollars in advertising and promotion in the hopes that we would get a few people that would try the product. And of those few people that would try the product, we would hope that a few would really like it and continue to use it, right? Very expensive to build brands that way, and it takes money and it takes time. And I would suggest that if we were going head-to-head against some of the major beverage players in the traditional way, we would probably not have much of a chance. But within the Keurig system, that is our turf, that's our territory. And as consumers buy the brewer, we can sample in the brewer some of these beverages. We have names and addresses of a good number of Keurig households and Keurig offices, and they're very open to trying these products. So we immediately, from a marketing standpoint, this is a marketer's dream. We immediately get right to trial, right? That product's in there, they love the coffee, they're going to try the hot apple cider. So now we're at trial immediately without having to spend all of the money in advertising and promotion to try to get trial. And if we deliver a great product, then we get loyal consumers and we get repeat use, and we grow not only the product demand, but we're building brand. So Green Mountain Coffee was, as I joined, a New England coffee brand, maybe a little bit more broadly, a Northeast brand. Today, Green Mountain Coffee, because of the Keurig brewing system, is known in Cincinnati and Denver and LA and Phoenix. Not yet to the same degree as it is in Boston or in New England, but we're building national brands very cost effectively. So that's a third value driver that we have, right? And then a fourth value driver as we contemplate the future is select international growth and opportunities. And we're now in Canada. We have said that we have other opportunities. We've not yet come forward publicly with how we're going to address those, other than to say we're working on it. So that is another value driver. So we have many ways here of creating value for all of our constituencies.
Okay, we're about out of time here. I wanted to give an opportunity for one or two questions.
I'm just warming up, by the way. I don't know.
Chris, do you have
go
time
ahead.
for just a few?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Taylor Breed. I'm a second-year MBA candidate here. Thank you
Hey, Taylor.
very much for coming.
My pleasure.
My question for you is jumping back towards the beginning of the conversation and the issue of sustainability and corporate social responsibility. Basically, Green Mountain Coffee obviously is one of the firms leading the charge in CSR, but it also benefits from the fact it was founded on the principles of, well, maybe not founded on the principles, was an early adopter of the
Early
concept
adopter would be good. Good characterization. Yes.
And my question is, as someone who's leading that firm, do you have any strategies or suggestions for companies who weren't early adopters or weren't founded on those principles that might be looking to adopt them and evolve their cultures to support that?
Well, again,
Thank you.
As I indicated, I don't want to be prescriptive necessarily for other companies, but certainly we believe that it is very important to our company, and we believe is supportive of our purpose, which is trying to change the way the world understands business, because we think incorporating sustainability into your overall business objectives and making it part of your corporate ethos is an enlightened approach. Again, having said that, I don't want to stand up here and look like I'm preaching to other companies. They have to make their own decision. But having said that, we are, I think, we try to pay attention to, as I indicated before, companies to understand best practices, including in the area of sustainability. I think we are one of the leaders in that area. And we also stand ready to help anyone who might want to learn from us to help them in their effort. And there's some fundamental principles. I mean, one of the things, if we were approached, we would suggest some fundamental principles to think about relative to sustainability. And so as we think about it, I mean, there's a host of issues and problems in the world that a company or a country could try to take on. And we can't take them all on. So one of our key principles, as an example, is to really try to focus in those areas where we can make a difference. So we want to do our part in certainly other areas, but where can we really make a difference? Well, where we can uniquely make a difference, obviously, is in coffee farms and around the world, where we can support the development of business practices, where we can help attack the food insecurity issues that they have by helping those farmers learn to grow other crops besides coffee. There's a number of ways helping them. There's a lot of water and energy used on the farms, and helping them, again, adopt best practices to minimize energy waste and to preserve water. A lot of things we can do there because we're a leader in coffee. We also, another area where we can lead is in packaging materials, where we can be at the forefront of continuing to push the boundaries of science on materials that can be used in packaging that have a less impactful footprint, if you will, from a number of perspectives on the environment. So that would be one of the things if companies would come to talk to us. We would tell them, really focus your efforts on where you can make a difference, right? So a number of others, but thank you for your question.
Okay, we're going to take one more question, and then we have to.
Good evening, Eric Kolb. I'm a first-year MBA here, and
Hey, Eric.
appreciate your time as well. I'm curious to hear a little bit more about the Starbucks deal, and specifically, what kind of challenges you're facing as the smaller player in this arrangement, but a very beneficial part as well.
So I guess one thing that obviously what we're in the process of doing right now is scaling our operations to support bringing them into the marketplace. We are using an advanced technology. It's an advanced portion pack, K-cup portion pack, that does allow for more coffee to be put into the portion pack, which then allows more dissolved solids, if you will, or more strength to be delivered to the cup. Because Starbucks is a stronger, if you will, cup of coffee. So that is new packaging technology, new packaging equipment, and so one of our challenges is just scaling that new technology to be able to support the anticipated demand that we, with them, believe we will generate together in the marketplace.
Okay, thank you very much, Larry. I wanted to just say a couple of things. First of all, I want to thank Larry for coming out, and in true Georgetown form, he went to Cincinnati and Xavier, but
Xavier, yeah, another Jesuit school.
But you're a Hoya now.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And so we need to break, and if Larry's willing to, maybe you guys ask a couple of questions, but we need to clear out because there's something going on right following this. So if you guys can help us to kind of clean up a little bit. Emily back here will kind of, and if you can cheers to the side. And again, I wanted to thank Larry very much, and Nick Young as well, for helping to bring him here. And just thank you guys very much for coming out. Okay? Thanks again, Larry.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And I'll hang around in the hall for just a little bit if some of you want to have some